everyone, before we started recording, Austin screamed boners, but I have no evidence. So you're just going to have to take my word for it that Austin screamed boners.
Who are you going to believe?
There's no proof.
Leon or the guy who screamed boners?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. Guys, how are you? How have you been? I mean, we talked yesterday, but how have you been?
Good. I had a strange moment today that I just very briefly want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I had a small crisis of identity where I found myself wondering if I would be a happier man if I occasionally thought to myself, maybe I should wear sandals today.
Sandals...
I don't own a pair of sandals. I don't think I would ever own a pair of sandals, but there was just, for a brief moment, it seemed like Johnny that owns a pair of sandals would be a simpler Johnny.
They don't...
Is it a comfort thing, or is it like convenience?
I'm not really sure. I just sort of feel like that if I owned a pair of sandals, then, you know, when things were at their darkest, I could be like, still, I am...
Okay, how do you feel about this, Austin?
I own a pair of sandals.
Sandals don't strike me as a particularly Canadian-friendly apparel choice. I do realize the sun does occasionally appear up there, but...
Like, more frequently than you might think.
Yeah, I guess it's
probably
a
every
harmful
day.
Stereotype. It just doesn't strike me as a very Canadian thing to do.
Look, don't be put off by the fact that Vancouver technically is in a rainforest climb. Mm-hmm. Last summer, for example, we had a record-breaking drought.
Sorry to hear that.
I bet last year we had a record-breaking trout.
What?
Sorry, I'm very tired.
If you had a trout, I don't think you would know what to do with it. Record-breaking or not.
So at the beginning, Leon asked how we were doing, and I didn't get a chance to answer, which was very rude on everyone else's part.
I apologize.
But I'm just going to keep talking now, because I'm in it. Here's how I am. I watched Leon's new video on Antichrist.
Cool.
Your Renegade Cut episode everyone should watch. Plug.
Thanks.
I do have a big concern with it, though, and that is that you did not mention the reshoots. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Oh, because there are two versions of the film?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. What specifically do you mean?
So when Lars von Trier tried to make Antichrist, there's a scene or scenes where Willem Dafoe, everyone's favorite goblin, exposes his genitalia to the audience.
You could have just said that Willem Dafoe exposes his Green Goblin.
We see a lot of his penis. What's your point?
My point is that's not his penis, because when they originally filmed those scenes, Willem Dafoe's real human meat penis was so enormous that they thought we can't possibly show this.
Well,
they had to refilm some of those scenes and use a stunt penis. A smaller, more normal and believable stunt penis.
And I would like to thank you for noticing, Austin. I mean, you know, as a first starring role, I was really, really scared that people weren't going to actually notice.
Okay. But, well, two things. First of all, I don't bother looking into stuff like that. Did not know it. Second of all, it's not really relevant to the philosophical themes that I wanted to discuss. Relevant to the film. But thank you for that. Thank you for that wonderful addendum, Austin.
I don't know, Leon. You could make an argument that there's definitely a statement to be made about masculine identity.
I guess
it's all about that.
Okay,
yeah, it's raw id of men and women and just clashing together and just.
I don't know. I feel like it would be really hard for me to just like wedge that into the conversation. And it's like, yeah, what if there is a God? By the way, let's talk about Willem Dafoe's junk.
But can you imagine being the film editor on this project and seeing Willem Dafoe's just...
I would like to think that had Lars von Trier filmed the editing process and had like a close-up on the face of the editor, it would be the most excruciating slow-motion frown
like, I cannot be associated with this cataclysmic hog. It is simply too much.
That would be a fantastic professional phone call to get at like 2:00 in the morning. Lars, what? You've got to come in.
We've
got a big problem.
You didn't even try to give him the accent. Your Von Trier has a very like Midwestern upbringing, apparently.
But yeah, he's salt of the earth.
Can you just imagine?
I imagine somewhere in northern Utah.
Oh, God. Seeing such an apocalyptic Wang that you're like, this cannot stand. This will not do.
Early contender for the title, Apocalyptic Wang.
I don't. If I can get that in, I mean, I can technically.
Pardon me. What she said.
Okay.
Well,
hello, we're 3 grown adults on the internet.
Oh fuck.
That now that I know that, like, I'm gonna watch Nymphomaniac soon, directed by Lars von Trier and starring Willem Dafoe. So I'm wondering how they work around that in there. So I'm looking forward to that. Or not.
I'm not familiar with that film. Maybe they just use his unvarnished manhood. You know, they just went for it the whole enchilada, so to speak.
Okay, maybe that will be a plot point. Like
enchilada, Austin, or burrito.
Now we've just mixed our food sex metaphors. You see, you joke about it being a plot point, but that was a plot point in the novel of The Godfather.
Oh,
was that one of the characters is too well endowed for his partner?
Oh yeah, you've told me about that. That was weird.
It was that the novel, The Godfather, not as good as the film. That's one of the few instances in which the transition helped the piece of art. But I've adopted a new podcasting philosophy because I know over the last couple of weeks I've done this thing where I stop every 5 to 10 minutes to go, what do you guys think? Do you have anything to add? Do you have any topics? And that's just like totally boring. So I'm just going to keep talking, and then you guys are going to have to try to wrangle me. I'm like a greased up hog in this motherfucker, and I'm just going to keep going.
I have tons of things to talk about.
All right.
So like,
try to stop me, Leon.
Okay, stop. All right, pause.
Okay, go.
Pause, Austin. Okay. Actually, I've been thinking about something. It's slightly more serious, although I'm sure I can make it funny. I've been thinking a lot lately about the reasons people give for why, like out loud anyway, for why they want children or why they had children, like if they were already parents. Now, the answer, like distanced from like conscious decision making, human thinking, is that it maintains the species and allows for new humans to potentially make a better world for new humans who potentially make an even better world for new humans after that, and so on until the sun explodes.
That's a really altruistic way of looking at it.
Yeah, but that's, like I said, that's sort of distanced from like the conscious decision making that people make, but that reason, that's great. Someone needs to produce more humans, and since it's not going to be me, do it. But that's not what most people say.
If you say so.
Yeah, but that I mean, you don't have to, but what I'm trying to say is that's not what.
No, I got my orders. I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Okay, but that's not what like most people say. And I've met people who want children or who have had children, and since I don't, for some reason they wrangle me into conversations about this. I've said in the past, like, the things that you are not are the least interesting things about you, and yet, like, the fact that, like, I'm, like, for example, I'm secular, so you wouldn't think I would think about religion a lot, but it's so ubiquitous in society that I have to, and because even though I don't want children and I won't be having children are everywhere, so it's not like I can avoid, talking or thinking about children. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, like, people have talked to me about children plenty of times, and when the answers they give, sometimes they sound either weirdly selfish, egotistical, or, if not that, entirely rational, but inhuman. Like, the latter one being like, well, I believe I have, exceptional genetic material that I wish to pass on to the gene pool of the next generation. And that makes sense, especially if you're, like, a Nazi doctor. But nobody says that. Nobody's like, let's make zygotes happen. It's just, no, it's like, beyond that, all the reasons just sound strange to me. The one that comes up the most is, I believe I would make a great parent. And all right, that might be true, but that's really bold. That's like an entire life you're creating based on ambition. I've also heard, I want a smaller version of myself. Okay, now that's like fine. Okay, but that's like a weird reason to conjure a person out of gross human juices. Because first of all, we have The Sims now, so, and second of all, like imagine telling that to your child. Like little Timmy says, Dad, why did you and Mommy make me? And Dad says, well, Timmy, I wanted like a pocket-sized mirror version of myself to mold into my own image, like the science version of a sorcerer who transfers his soul onto his progeny. And it's like, okay, and these are the kind of answers that I hear. Some are worse, one's well, we've been married for a few years, so you know, and that's it. And that just means we did so because we were supposed to, because that's what all sitcoms do in their 4th season. That's
what I base my decisions on.
Yeah, the only one worse than that is it's my duty in my religion, and that's just garbage. It means nothing.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's not enough. That's not.
How do you feel about this one?
Okay.
Well, if you want to live forever, you got to have collateral.
Yeah, that the whole I want a legacy thing. Yeah.
What about I didn't bring protection?
Yeah.
No. I'm talking very specifically about like dark rituals and like immortality and things like that.
Okay. Now hold on. Like actually, I'll address that, Austin. Like I want this to be clear. I freely admit that, like, as a person who is definitely like incapable of having children by choice, I made said decision based on my own selfish desires. I don't want to take care of someone. I would hate it. I might be good at it, but even if I were, I would hate doing it. Like math. I can like rationalize this a number of ways, but my reasoning is for my own benefit. But at least I know that. I'm not pretending it's for the good of mankind. It might be, or it might not. I don't have a crystal ball. But I don't want children because it's not who I am and it's not what I want for myself. Now, to what you just said, Austin, like the inverse of what I just said, the most honest answer to not wanting children, the opposite of that for the be childed is it was an accident and we decided to keep it. And that's perfectly fine and completely honest with yourself. But not a lot of people say that out loud, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure I have a point to this, but it's been on my mind a lot lately. I think just because I've seen a lot of children lately because it was Halloween, and that's almost certainly why. But yeah, that's been on my mind. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that.
I was just gonna jump in right here and ask you, because I kind of agree. I think that you would actually probably be a pretty good dad. Have you ever thought about going free agent dad?
I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, you're not roped into a contract right now, essentially. You know, like, you don't have a home team. I think if you got the right agent to represent you, we could probably get Leon Dad into a really prestigious team.
Oh no.
And you could just, like, go all the way to the championship one year.
Oh, absolutely.
I know this is just a Johnny joke, but it sounds like, is it like foster parenting? Is it like social work?
No,
what is even the equivalent of this joke?
I get like the gag you're saying, but no, like the real world version of that being like a temporary father or no, not even that. No,
not even like a big brother.
No, no, that just seems like someone bet is better off doing it than myself.
I think what you're getting at is that just people need to be more honest with themselves about the kind of commitments they're willing to enter into. Like 18 years is a heck of a long time, and I think there's like 7 billion people in the world. Just statistically, a lot of them are going to be shitty parents. Let's all just take that look in the mirror and say, "Is this a good idea?"
Yeah, but also about that whole 18-year commitment. That's like minimum. That's like that's your legal obligation to that child.
Oh. God, then there's the emotional
barring disaster.
Afterward, yeah.
Barring disaster.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's your legal obligation to your kid, that you can technically kick them out of your home when they turn 18. But in reality, there's probably going to be more going on later,
or less. Or less. You just do what my parents did.
Well, sure, yeah. I understand. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, like when people say, "Well, it's just 18 years," I'm like, it doesn't even. First of all, these are the only in 18 years from now, like I'm gonna be old, so
or just different. Who knows what kind of person I'll be in 18 years? Maybe I'll get like really into yoga. Like that is that guy gonna be a good parent? He has nothing to do with me right now. You never know.
Yoga Austin sounds cool.
My problem is that there was a period of years between when I was about 17 and 22 when I just bought like so many picture frames that I kind of feel like I need to have something to put in those picture frames. And guys, like, let me tell you something. You can only put like 1 or 2 pictures of like really good meals into picture frames, or else people think there's something seriously wrong with you. So I was like, God, guess I have to have a family now.
Oh no, yeah, I mean, I've heard dumber, I was gonna say excuses. I guess explanations is probably the word I wanted there for starting a family. But whatever, if you want to, you want to. We're not trying to shame you. This is just a fun goof show.
I'm just saying is that when you walk into somebody's home and they've got like 67 empty picture frames on the wall, people have a tendency to judge.
That's fair. And like I said, no, this is not about shame. Like I said, like someone needs to do it. So go ahead, please.
Would you guys be comfortable that of the three of us that would be me? That I'm that guy?
You're the most daddy.
Of the three of us, and maybe I hope I'm not stepping out of bounds here, but of the three of us, you seem the least resistant to having children, even though you have not yet and have not, to the best of my knowledge, been super interested.
I don't know.
No, that's perfectly fine. I just mean like Austin is like, I hate children, and I'm like I am cool with children. I just don't want any. And you're like, I don't know, and which that's what I mean by least resistant. That's all.
Yeah, I mean I exaggerate for comedic purposes, of course. But who knows? Who knows what kind of person I'll be in 10 years?
That's true.
My relatives, my distant relatives, apparently had their money on me. They were like, yeah, Johnny's gonna be the one.
There's like a betting pool about like who in your family is just gonna nut right in that.
Apparently there was.
Right in somebody.
Apparently there was, and okay. I lost. Oh. I mean, well, like I didn't lose, but people who bet on me lost.
Oh, okay. Well, that's their problem.
I know. I'm not taking responsibility for that.
There's a lot to unpack there.
You know, Johnny, you should have placed that wager like and profited from it. By basically by fixing it and not I'm sorry.
Yeah. I didn't think that it was going to be either my brother or my sister.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think it was going to be me, because we're dysfunctional people. We're awful at humaning.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, so my sister right into home plate.
Okay.
Okay. Is that what she named it?
Oh god.
Or
no, it's due next month.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
Congratulations.
All right.
Although I don't
we have to be careful now about making jokes about this.
I'm not, like I said, this is more of it's a thing that's been on my mind. It's not like kids.
Yeah.
And when I say like right into home plate, I don't think you guys understand. One try.
Oh, good.
Like first try.
This is, if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, this is way more information than I need about your sister.
I'm fine with this amount of information about someone.
Well, it's not like It's not like I'm sending you diagrams that I've, personally drafted in Autodesk or anything like that, Austin.
Is Autodesk the drafting program used in Canada? Because here it's called AutoCAD.
It's one of.
Okay.
AutoCAD is one.
One assumes that there are many different kinds. Okay.
I assume. But what's the commercial drafting software in your jurisdiction, Leo? That's what the people want to know.
I only kind of know what that is, to be honest. Like, the amount of programs I have in my computer are like Open Office, Audacity. If it's relevant to my work, I have it. If it's not, I almost certainly do not have it.
You don't even have Word? You have Open Office?
Oh yeah. I don't even have that other thing. I have the one.
Geez. Austin, I messed up. Autodesk is the company that makes AutoCAD.
There you go.
Oh.
They also make Maya.
Guys, I really hope everyone tuned in to hear some fucking software goss, because we got the juiciest software goss. Guess who bought Excel? Nobody.
I have one more thing to say about pregnancy and children, and then I'm just going to leave this alone. This is almost a completely different topic, but since it's kind of related, I'll just segue into it. So on BoJack Horseman, oh my God, calm down.
No, I wasn't prepared.
It's okay. Spoilers for season 3. Like, if anyone's listening, you can just skip ahead a few minutes. So in season 3, Diane becomes pregnant from Mr. Peanut Butter. They briefly are pregnant, and then she terminates the pregnancy. Now, that's not what I want to talk about. Well, what I want to talk about is this. I've accepted that on this show, humans and other animals have evolved more or less, parallel to one another, I guess is what I want to say. They all have hands, but different faces, and they are considered different species. But apparently, according to this episode, they can procreate with one another. Now, here's the thing about that. There are 3 possibilities for what would have occurred had this pregnancy gone to term. Now, either Diane would have produced a human child, or Diane would have produced a puppy, which would have been adorable, but weird. Or Diane would have produced a hybrid. Now, here's the thing. If it had been the 3rd thing, that would have been the first one on the show. Because we've seen hundreds of characters on this show, background and ones with speaking roles. And we have yet to see a dog cat or a mouse bird or anything like that looks like it is 2 of something. So in this,
I have the answer to this. If you want it.
I would be like, arguably, all the animals are already kind of
they all have like vaguely,
because you know what, Leon, horses don't have hands.
I understand that. Like I said, they all have vaguely human qualities. Like they have hands, but they have different faces. I mentioned that, but what I'm trying to say is there are no like catbirds. But Austin, you have a thought on this.
Yeah, BoJack Horseman clearly works on Pokemon rules, which is that they're all one thing and there are variations of it. I don't know if you go back into deep Pokemon lore, like there was the original Pokemon, and that all Pokemon came from, and that even though they look totally different, and it's like some are birds and some are fish and some are like just dudes with belts, but they're still all Pokemon. And in the same way, everyone in BoJack Horseman is like totally different species, but they can interbreed because they come from the same source. And in Pokemon, when you interbreed 2 Pokemon, even if one is a small purple cat and one is a whale the size of a mountain, they can breed. The result will be the mother, because you got to fit out the exit.
Yes. That does make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
look, it's not going to make perfect scientific sense. I understand that.
So Diane will have a human.
Right.
Yeah, but doesn't the daddy fill in the chromosome?
Right. It's like I said,
the offspring will get some of the attack moves from the father. But will inherit.
Wait, attack moves are passed genetically? God, that explains a lot about my upbringing.
Oh, God.
From the father. The species is from the mother. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. We'll have to see if that comes to pass in season 4.
I don't know if I want to have a kid now.
Yeah, they'll get your kung fu, but then it'll be like a squid or whatever you knock up.
I am totally not comfortable passing on my sweet attack moves to somebody who hasn't earned it through like years of montages.
You freeloader. Yeah, right. What do you think, you're gonna come and take my dojo for me? I earned all these kicks. These are my kicks.
That always leads to like somebody like 20 years down the road coming back and being like, "I'm here to take your throne, old man," and being like, "Oh, if you think you can take it, then come."
Yeah. God, now I want that movie so bad.
Fight my son or daughter, for that matter.
Yeah.
Or whatever I guess they identify.
My Pokemon Kung Fu son. Coming this summer.
Totally. Let's do it.
So
I'm looking for investment capital now.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll cost $8. We're not gonna be honest. We're not committing too many resources to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna transition out unless someone stops me, and that is, Leon, you said something about Halloween.
Yeah.
I think you saw a bunch of kids. That's what it was.
Yes.
Did anybody do anything for Halloween? Because I did a thing.
I did not. I worked the one day, sort of like the one day a week that I work in my like day job that I barely do anymore. And then I came home and basically worked on the new episode. So I did nothing Halloween-y at all, unfortunately. What did you do?
I shook my fist at my window late at night and said, "Give it a rest."
Well done.
I'm in a college town, so there's not like any trick-or-treaters. Everyone's just getting fucking slobber-knockered all night. But here's what I did, which is we had a costume party at the law school. I think the person who won the costume contest came just as German, which was their thing. I guess that's a good concept. Mine was the most terrifying thing of all, a professional adult with responsibilities. And you've seen this costume if you follow me on Twitter. And what I did was I just bought a suit. I bought and wore a suit, guys, for the first time ever.
Congratulations.
How did it feel?
You're a man now, son.
That's kind of what I wanted to talk about, because if you've already seen this picture, like, that's the whole goof. Like, Austin, the white trash idiot, wore a suit, like, ha-ha. But, like, it was pretty good.
There you go.
Like, it's really comfortable. Like, it's a really, like, first of all, it damn well better be for how much the fucking thing costs. But, like, I think maybe I can get used to, like, dressing like a human.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been wearing jeans so long, I just kind of assumed that was the kind of person I am. But then I put on a suit, and I'm like, actually, this is better. And maybe I'm a suit. Like, if I've been a suit person the entire time, trapped in the jeans, man.
It took me a long time to like find my aesthetic and like be interested in fashion. Like so you hit it earlier than I did. So good for you, man. This is only like a recent thing for me, like in the past few years.
Like, I can't think of anything I was less interested in for most of my life than fashion.
Yeah.
Both just because it didn't appeal to me aesthetically, and also like the class politics of the entire thing. It's a very economically loaded thing, the way people dress and the way we scrutinize each other's dress. And it always struck me as like very elitist to need to dress a certain way to be accepted. And like my family couldn't afford clothes, and so that obviously affected a lot of the way I saw this stuff. But then between watching JoJo and just being like, oh, fashion is art, actually.
Right.
First of all, let's just get that out of the way. And also, it's just like well-made clothes are comfortable in a way that I didn't realize they could be. Like I have like a pair of nice pants and I wear them, and I don't like want my legs to come off. That's a new thing.
Yeah, I just bought some winter clothes, and I was very excited when I was scrolling through things. I'm like, ooh, I want that, and I want that, and I want that. My new cardigans very comfortable and look real good on me. My new pea coat does not fit because I got it. It's very nice, but it's inexpensive because I got it online on a sale from a foreign distributor. But their idea of what large is different from what mine is, because I guess it's a different country. But I really I'm in the process of losing some weight, so it will actually fit soon. I just have to like wait it out. But it looks real good. It looks very nice.
Yeah. Johnny, I think you're the most like. You seem like the one I think of as the most dapper. No offense, Leon. It's just the thing I have in my brain.
You can just say the sexiest. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. Johnny, you're the sexy one. You're our sex correspondent. What do you?
All right.
What do you have to say about like male fashion? I feel like it's a thing that like. I don't know. Maybe it's just my experience growing up in the American rural South. It doesn't seem like a thing people are encouraged to be into. It seems like it's a very like. Either upper class or like even I don't want to say like unmasculine, because obviously like Mad Men, right? Like that's a thing. But like it's like cool dudes are into football and trucking and mudding and hunting. Like no, we're not like let's go shopping. That's like there's a certain
no, but like I mean, at the same point in time, it's like you've got to realize that everybody. This was something that I kind of realized actually when I was in high school, is that the way that people dress oftentimes is more important as social signifiers more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you're just like, oh, hell no, shorts and a basketball jersey, that's me. That's like, okay, that's what you've bought into. You're not born with that. You don't just come shooting out of the birth canal with like a Chicago Bulls jersey on,
Yeah.
It's like it's something that is kind of bestowed upon you, by like a lot of your surroundings and things like that. Now, the funny thing about men's fashion is that it is so large insofar as that like so much of it is just like, oh hey, all of this is utilitarian.
Mm-hmm.
You wear this because you have to wear something. Yeah. Like this is your working gear. This is that, and it's even like I don't know if you guys have been aware of like the lumberjack resurgence.
Yeah, lumbersexuals.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Yeah, the lumbersexual thing, and that's like that is just such like an effortless attempt at being like, oh yeah, fashion, check it out.
Yeah,
flannel.
That's why I hesitated to say like fashion is not masculine, because obviously they can be expressions of masculinity. It's just like the idea of being into clothes, is seemingly coded that way.
It's a self-investment and self-interest thing, like absolutely, completely, utterly, and totally, and that's like, I think that's kind of hand in hand with the fact that we're talking about the masculinity, because there's so much of masculine culture that refuses to be self-interested. It refuses to acknowledge like emotional needs. It refuses to acknowledge social needs. It refuses to acknowledge, even like anything that you want to do that's non-status quo. It's all about like what you can do for the world. You walk into a situation and go, I can fix that car. I can deal those cards. Watch me run a marathon. Like it's very outward focusing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of male fashion again, and it's kind of like weird to have to use those verbal finger quotes where it's like fashion, but I mean it's true. Fashion as a business, fashion as an art, fashion as an expression of self. They all intermingle. Something that I've been doing, you guys have probably seen many pictures of me in ridiculously fancy cowboy shirts.
Which seems like an oxymoron, but go on.
But I mean, that's something that in like the past few years that I have gotten into, probably in like the last 4 years or something. Like this kind of like weird rockabilly. But if it wasn't me wearing it, you might look at a guy and go, "Wow, that dude's headed to a fancy square dance." But it's the thing is that me wearing it the way that I wear it changes kind of what it means. Like I wear it with a long coat that I got because I really liked the design of this particular coat in a video game. And I was like, that coat, that's mine. And like all these different elements that you pick and choose, it's sort of like, because somebody could easily throw that coat on and you would just see a guy and be like, oh no, he thinks he's in Blade Runner. But yeah, like this whole pick and choose of kind of like, okay, well, these are elements of my personality that I want to incorporate with each other, and I want to mix and kind of turn on its side and go, hey, this is me. This is what I choose to represent myself. And yeah, if you choose like one of those elements, you can easily reduce it to just be like, oh look, a Hank Williams Jr. fan. And the same could be said of like, even a lot of like what you wouldn't consider to be like fashion masculinity. What kind of hat you wear. Like, are those new sneaks, bro? Like, these are concerns, but the thing is that just because you don't freak out about them, because it's not like we're not socially supposed to be like, yeah, I got these because I was interested in me. It's like, no, I got these because I want you guys to see how wealthy I am. I wear this because I want you guys to see how, like, edgy and cool I am. You know, like, it's not really, it's the other side of the coin of self-investment, where it's like you are, you know, it's the animal kingdom. It's like, I'm going to dress kind of flashy just in where I am so that people are like, oh, a gold chain!
That's a great voice. I buy my clothes based on prettiness. I want that to be clear. There's actually a line from The Wire that sort of like comes to mind when this sort of thing pops up in conversation. Bunk and McNulty are talking, and Bunk says something about his suits, and McNulty sort of like dismissively says, "You know what they call a guy who knows fashion designers, right?" And Bunk says, "Yeah, an adult." And that's kind of the way I've decided to think about it. It's like, you know, I got it's okay to, you know, like, wear a t-shirt, like, and that's fine. I do that sometimes, but, you know, it's okay to, like, you know, be an adult, wear a suit, and then that is totally okay.
Yeah, that's like a really good encapsulation of it, because there's like the sublimated like homophobia in there, because there's all this weird gender stuff caught up in there, and then there's the economic stuff. It's like there's a lot to unpack about what clothes you put on.
And like part of what I was trying to say is that, like, I'm sick and tired of the idea that you can't dress for you. Like, I love it that Leon can say I dress the way I do because I choose the clothes I do because they're pretty.
They sure are.
That's like, yeah, why the fuck not? You know, like, I dress the way that I want to dress because I look at something and I go, oh my god, I want that on me. And then, you know, like, the goal is that hopefully other people who might see that and go, oh my god, I want that on me, would be like, oh my god, you have this on you. And I'm like, yeah, I got it on me. And they're like, I want it on me too. You know, like again, like this weird kind of like social signal thing. Like, I don't want anybody to look at what I'm wearing and go, ooh, I better not talk to that guy because it's on him.
Okay.
It's weird, you know, like, we're all victims to it. Like, we all want to get our signal out there. We all want to flaunt our tail feathers, you know, like,
or the opposite,
bright colors and dance around a little bit and be like, look at me, you know, just don't want to pretend that we're doing it for that reason.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff tied up in that. The only other thing I wanted to add was that I now understand what normal people spend their money on instead of like video games. I was like, what do non-gamers spend all their disposable income on? Where does it go? Apparently it's close. That's the answer to that question.
There you go.
So do you guys want to go to the Law Corner or to D&D World? I got installments of both of our beloved segments for you.
We can start with Law and go to D&D. Sure.
Okay. That's our show. So what I have for you in the legal corner this week is apparently what I've been told is the most famous case in all of torts. It's pretty simple. Let me try to break it down for you. There's 3 people. There's a guy who's running to a train. It's moving because he was late, so it's like pulling.
I was sorry. I was just really hopeful that the most famous case in all of torts was actually about torts, and that was why it was the most famous. That everybody was like, finally.
Yeah, that would be amazing. No, it's just famous because it's been like the most talked about. There's the most books written about it.
So, guy is running to get a train. Right.
Yeah,
because he's late.
Yeah, he's carrying a pack.
Is the train already moving? Like, is he in the vicinity of the train?
Yep. He's trying to run to catch it. He has a package. Right. The second person who's important is the guy who works for the railroad, who helps him on to the train as it's pulling away.
Right.
The third
conductor ductor.
That guy. The third person is a woman sitting at a bench like 30 feet away from this. What happens is, as the conductor helps him onto the train, the guy who's running drops his package. It hits the railroad and explodes. It had explosives in it.
Ooh.
So the shockwave knocks over like this weighing scale, like this big metal thing you put stuff on to weigh packages, about 30 feet away where the woman is sitting, and it falls over and like crushes her.
Oh,
wow!
So did she
who's
live?
in trouble?
When you say crush her, do you mean that she died, or do you mean that she just had a really bad day?
I think she survived. She survived.
Okay, just curious.
But I believe she was badly injured.
Right.
So who's in trouble?
So who's in trouble? Why? Like, what's your intuition tell you about this series of events?
First of all, I want to know about what kind of explosives are in the package.
I believe they were fireworks of some kind, but it's surprisingly not relevant to the analysis of this as a case. It's a negligence case.
All I'm suggesting is that if you're just running with a bunch of plastic explosives,
you would think
that's not going to be a problem, because you don't just drop a block of like C4 and just be like, boom.
Right.
You know, it doesn't happen. But if he's running with like a liter of nitroglycerin, that's like, dude.
I think a lot of people get hung up on that, but yeah.
I thought it would be relevant because I thought he was trying to bomb the train. When you explained that to me, I thought he was like, oh, we caught him. But no, he did not mean to.
Okay, so the conductor was helping this guy onto the train.
Yeah, he basically like threw him up onto the train because he wasn't going to catch it in time.
Right.
And the details are actually a little vague. Like we don't have like a frame by frame on this because it wasn't filmed or anything. So, but the idea is that he helped him onto the train, and in that action, the package was jostled loose.
All right. Well, here's what I want to know. And this might be relevant. Was the guy running towards the train and trying to jump onto the train, and like, or was the guy running to the train and was basically signaling for the person to pull him onto the train?
Yeah, I think it's the second one.
Okay, so he wanted to be pulled onto the train.
Yeah, he was trying to catch the train.
No, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, was he
He physically, he indicated that he needed physical help.
That's what I want to know.
I don't know if there's enough evidence to say that for 100% sure. It seems like a bunch of people who just kind of acted on impulse.
Okay.
It wasn't like anyone exchanged any words or any, like, legally significant hand signals.
Okay. No, I understand. I was wondering about, like, consent. But okay. In my mind, it's your explosives. And you fucked up. But it's probably more complicated than that.
What I want to know is, why wasn't the Department of Homeland Security being like, whoa, buddy, hold up there, what you got in the package?
I sure would like to know exactly when this took place.
Oh, it's definitely before the Homeland Security.
I understand that, but like when you say train, do you mean like this happened like in the late 19th century? Or
okay, well, why weren't the J. Edgar Hooverians being like, hang on there, friend, what you got in that parcel?
The Pinkertons caught it in midair. It's for anyone who cares, it's 1928.
Okay.
So
it's been several centuries since fireworks were brought to the West. I feel like they should know by now what's up.
There was no indication by looking at the package what it contained.
No, that's perfect.
Oh, so this guy was shipping dangerous goods without actually meeting IATA standards.
I assume that means something to someone else. I don't know what IATA is.
Okay, no, it doesn't work because IATA is actually air transport. But there are regulatory committees that are like, yeah, if you are transporting dangerous goods, like, there needs to be fucking, like, labels and shit that are like, hey, this thing might explode. That's why you get these bottles of poison that say poison on them.
I have one more question. But before I, like, completely throw this guy under the bus.
Or train.
What is the legality of him having the fireworks on the train at all? Or is is it completely irrelevant?
Irrelevant.
Okay, all right. I was just curious one might assume that there could be a regulation about explosives on something that runs on like coal and steam and shit. But okay,
you would think.
Yes.
Yeah, this entire case is banana sandwiches.
Okay, that's
this feels very similar to me. Mm-hmm. Very similar to me about the other case that we had about the two guys shooting at the one guy. Mm-hmm. In that, the first thing that has to happen is the woman's injuries need to be redressed. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you have to come to the responsibility, come to the conclusion as to whose responsibility it is that the package got jostled from this man's hands. Because it could just be like, you've got a dangerous package, why weren't you holding on to it? And it's your duty to look after the passengers. Why did you knock this package out of this man's hand?
Here's why I feel like that's different. In the case of the hunters, they both had lethal weapons and they both shot. One dude had something dangerous. The other dude did not. I feel,
but it is
no. I understand.
It is the conductor's responsibility that passengers remain safe on the train, presumably, or it at least is the railroad company's responsibility for the safety of the passengers, and that might include, making sure that anything like fireworks in a box don't just get knocked off the train. Like, what you gonna do now, bitch? Happy 4th of July.
I feel like that's a perfectly reasonable argument, but
they definitely should have yelled Happy 4th of July.
I feel like that's a perfectly reasonable argument, Johnny, but I also feel like Fireworks Man is an asshole who tried to bring explosives on a train. So I feel like it's his fault, but Austin, how did the ruling exactly go?
All right.
I'm gonna go with the train company, honestly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Johnny's definitely on the right track.
Okay.
Everyone, I think, comes to this case and goes, yeah, the man with the bomb is in trouble here. But, he ain't even in the suit. Like, the actual suit is the woman versus the railroad. It's Paulsgraf v. Long Island Railroad is the name of this case. Bomb dude ain't even a party.
Here's what I think. I feel like she was like, wait a minute, who has more money?
Certainly.
This one dude or the fucking railroad?
You're probably right as to her reasoning.
Yeah.
But here's where this gets theoretical, right? Okay. Because the idea behind suing the railroad is the conductor or the station dude. He's probably not the conductor. I don't know why we use that term. He's like the guy who works for the railroad.
The station agent?
Yeah. He was negligent in helping that guy onto the train, and that is the cause of her injury, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the cause and effect she's trying to establish. Okay. And so in this...
Yeah, it wasn't that he had a package full of fireworks, it's that the fireworks were mishandled.
That would be the argument. And this formulation seems simple enough on paper, even though it's kind of whack to leave the guy with a bomb out of it. But it's hard to make the case that it's his fault because he didn't drop them of his own volition. He didn't throw them. If you tried to sue him, you wouldn't be able to get, what did he do that was negligent? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You kind of can't go after him. And maybe in modern law, there's something about having inherently dangerous stuff like that.
Well, I mean, that's why I was asking questions about IATA, because we have regulatory bodies now that are like, hey, if you're transporting dangerous shit, people need to know.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to have specific labels on the boxes and documentation that goes with them. So yeah, if dude was just trying to drag fireworks on and he didn't have a little hazmat explosive goods sticker on it, then
in modern day he probably doesn't even get into the station without getting arrested.
Right. I feel like
no, I mean he would definitely get into the station, but then when he drops and explodes, the government would go after him because that's not a civil suit. That's like, dude, you just broke a law.
I feel like if he if in modern times, if this guy brought explosives on a plane and let's say the flight attendant pushed them a little too hard and then exploded, it is not the flight attendant's fault. You've brought a fucking bomb onto the plane.
So there are a lot of elements of this that are controversial, but I think the most one is the one we haven't even gotten to yet, which is that she loses.
Oh, that's a shame.
No one ends up paying this woman a single dime because in this long landmark decision, the court decides that first of all that there's no duty, which is an element of negligence, to the woman from the agent, which a lot of scholars say is horse hockey because he works for the thing she's in. That's bananas. Like, what are you even talking about? But I think they're like the reason they teach this to us is because when you cause an injury, there are actually two kinds of cause. There's actual cause, which is,
and then there's through negligence, right?
It's called proximate cause, and the idea is that like if through a Rube Goldberg series of events, something can happen to you that is undeniably the actual cause, like cause and effect.
Why didn't you give me meteorite insurance?
But unless you can prove that it was any way foreseeable that this would happen. I think the other example is like if someone throws a coffee out their window and hits your car while you're driving and then you crash, like that is both the actual cause and the foreseeable proximate cause. But if they throw their coffee out the window and it just lands at your feet on the sidewalk and then you raise your hand like to wave it at the person and you hit a bee's nest and then you get stung to death, that is not a foreseeable consequence of someone throwing coffee out their window. It's too Rube Goldberg. And what the judge says in this train thing was it's not foreseeable that knocking an unmarked package onto a railway will crush a woman 30 feet away. Like there's no universe in which that can be foreseen, and therefore it's not proximate causation of the injury.
She should have sued Fireworks Man. I mean,
yeah.
That's how I feel. I mean,
Leon cuts through all the bullshit. Leon, the legal scholar.
I'm just saying that, like, we know for a fact that this case did not work. Had she sued Fireworks Man, who knows what our laws would be like now?
Well, no, she would. I mean, I'll be real with you. She would have lost because there was not actual causation. Nothing he did there was no action by which he caused her to be injured. It was the other guy who jostled the package loose, which severs the chain of causation from package man to woman.
So I guess this case really does highlight the interpretation element of law, to where it's like, in hindsight, we can all be like, that's some bullshit. Lady should be crushed.
I think we can all take a firm anti-lady crush stance.
But then a judge can be like, "Ooh, sorry, crushed lady. It looks like this is the station where you get off."
Fuck. But yeah, I think it's.
Yeah. No wait, that's the wrong show.
It's just a really good kind of example of something where you come to it with this intuition of how justice should work, but actually the rules are set up such that like nobody gets what they want.
There is no justice, Austin.
Yeah, although like society has adapted, you're just not allowed to bring explosives into anywhere like that now,
unless
they're properly marked. And even then, I feel like someone would call the cops if you're carrying a danger high explosive crate and running.
Well, yeah, and running.
Yeah, you would probably get shot or tackled. It's not a great scene to be doing that. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about D&D now. Let's see what happens with that. Yeah, I don't have a setting to talk about this week. What I wanted to talk about is actually...
The D&D movie?
Yeah, 100% you got me. I've never seen that movie, Johnny.
Well, you know what that means.
Yeah. I know someone wears blue lipstick.
Yeah.
Jeremy
Have you guys
Irons
seen
is
it?
in it.
Yeah.
And he goes,
What I'm suggesting, Austin.
Yeah.
Movie date night, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh God.
Okay. So that's a good joke. So when Dungeons and Dragons was first started, almost all of the monsters that were in the game were evil or chaotic or just like unreasonable. They're just bags of skin and bones for you to murder. And there was very little like nuance or subtlety. I think in the original monster manual there was only one lawful good creature, which was the Flumph, which is kind of a floating psychic jellyfish, which is adorable, by the way.
That is definitely what I'm going to be next season now.
Nope.
It was a fighty dice punch game.
It was a fighty dice punch game.
How do you spell it?
No, Leon, stop.
Don't worry, Leon. I can get you some reading.
You're not going to be a flump. But no, it actually evolved from Chainmail, which I believe was like a miniatures war game.
I found
it.
It was sorry, go ahead.
It's not hard to Google D&D flump. Like no matter how you spell it, Google will get you there.
It did.
You're not Leon. Please, I cannot stress how much you're not going to be a flump.
No, it's fine. I'm just really curious about it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, it'd be lawful good, which might be a fun thing to force you to do. Anyway.
Never mind.
Yeah. So where I'm going with this is over the years, they, of course, had to try to fill those voids, like by adding creatures who weren't just, meat socks for you to punch. And I think in the early 80s is when they added the lawful species of the Modron. And if you listen to our other show, Dice Funk, you're familiar with them. They're just these little metal idiots who come in various shapes and sizes. There's kind of a hierarchy. So there's the monodrome, which is a sphere, and they go up in size. There's the tridrome, who has 3 sides, and then the quadrone, who's a cube, and so on and so forth.
When you say hierarchy, you're not talking about like a caste system, are you?
If a caste system involves like more complicated social mechanics, these guys, like literally the whole like idea of them is like they can only hold as many ideas in their head as they have sides.
Yeah.
So like the smallest guys can only do 1 task, and the 4-sided guys can do like 4 tasks, and so on and so forth. Like it's they're adorably simple-minded, and they're like calculators with legs, and it's kind of adorable. But they were like the lawful neutral monster of D&D for a bit. But apparently people didn't like them. I think they thought they were too silly, too goofy. And so there have been attempts over the years to introduce new, like iconic lawful species. One is the Fomorians, which are kind of like ant people. And that kind of makes sense because ants have like these big colonies where they have like rigid structures, and there's the queen at the top. And it's almost like the Modron, which go from simple to a slightly more complex up to Primus, who's like the king of them. Fomorians, I think the art kind of doomed them. They kind of look stupid. And then after that, there was the Inevitables, which is so edgy, try hard. It sounds like a 90s Image comic. I think those were up until 4th edition. I wasn't playing at that time, obviously, but from what I understand, they were kind of like the Terminators. They're basically like cool super robots, and I don't like them either. But with 5th edition, the current one, the Modron are back, and neither Fomorians or Inevitables are in the monster manual. So it's kind of a cool reversal of fortune for what I think are cute, cool idea, like little dudes. And I definitely think the game benefits from having less cool monsters and more like silly, high concept dudes. And kind of where I'm going with this, there's a couple different ways we can attack it. But one thing I want to point out is that the Modron have a pretty interesting role in the video game Planescape Torment, where you can get one as a party member. Johnny, do you remember this guy?
I think so, yeah.
So maybe my favorite fact about Planescape Torment is the party member Modron you get. His whole deal is that he's a chaotic Modron, which is not a thing. He's been like corrupted by chaos, so he's like the antithesis of all Modrons, and his name is it's Modron backwards, so it's like Nordom or something. It's a pretty cheesy but fun idea, and that's what I like about Modron, is that they're kind of silly, but they fulfill a very specific like structural role in the cosmoverse of this thing. But the fact is, he's voiced by Dan Castellaneta, aka Homer motherfucking Simpson.
Yeah, I don't actually remember Nordom.
Okay, so I don't know if there's a page somewhere like on Wikipedia or IMDb or something, but if there's someday a page of voice actors known for playing Modron, it's just me and Dan Castellaneta. Like those are the only people who have ever attempted this thing, and I like that a lot. Okay. But there's a lot of cool stuff about Modron, just in the way that they make D&D a less like grim, dark, self-serious exercise, and I like them a lot.
Well, it allows more flexibility in the campaign. I don't know if I told you guys about this. I had this friend, one of the best DMs that I've ever met, actually, and I only had the opportunity to play with him for like 5 or 6 sessions, but we talked about Dungeons & Dragons constantly. And he just got so bored of the usual flex, punch, gold, like, crap. One year, he decided that he was going to run a D&D campaign, except everything was going to be insects. So it was like, I think all the player characters were like fruit flies. And it was like the whole campaign took place over one day. Wow. Just because of how low the fruit fly lifespan is.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he had rewritten like everything to like happen in this kitchen. And I was just like, that is one of the cleverest fucking things I've ever heard in D&D in my life. Like, and having that flexibility in a system, because just because the Modron's in 5th edition and it's, you know, a little goofy or fucking whatever, that doesn't mean that you have to use it.
Oh, yeah.
Inversely, you know, having that opportunity means that you have the availability to write that kind of, like, weird, sort of goofy, I don't know, 80s science fiction, weird science themed D&D campaign that you've been, like, meaning to do for years.
Yeah. I mean, the strength of the game is its flexibility. You can make up anything and put it in there. It's just, I think, it encourages players when they can see a stat block. So if they weren't presented at all, I think a lot of people would be too intimidated to make up their own Modron, for example.
Yeah.
But you definitely can.
Totally.
Even if it weren't in the book, you can do whatever you want.
Having that official plugin provides, you know, the permission, I should say, as opposed to necessarily, like, you know, the availability. Because, yeah, there are going to be rule purists out there, or people who just don't necessarily have that deep of imaginations, who would struggle to invent their own things to, like, throw into D&D.
Yeah.
And then being like, yeah, check it out.
I actually talked for like a half an hour on my other show, Game Crunk, on the episode called Yowie Hands. If you want to look that up with Lauren, we talked about half an hour about how I would have loved to make up everything, like every race, every culture, every item, but it's just not worth the effort for like people who are just going to listen to the show and don't know I'm like subverting all these things, because to a lot of people who listen, it's all new to them. Yeah. Like it's all fresh. There's no reason to necessarily do all that extra work. But I mean, you just listen to that. I go into a lot.
There'd be a lot of player exposition too.
Yeah,
like trying to.
It doesn't. Yeah, you want to take you want to go play to the strengths of the format. With podcasting, you kind of just gotta go with the best jokes and move the plot forward. You can't sit around and like over the dusty boughs of the. You know, it's just a lot of description.
I love dusty boughs.
You heard him, everybody. He said the best jokes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we haven't achieved them. It's aspirational.
The best jokes.
Only the prime rib of jokes. But yeah, so I could go on. Do you guys want to answer questions or anything else? Anybody play or watch anything?
I had a very dull week. I did play some things. I did watch some things, but none of them really like. I mean, Diamond is Unbreakable now.
Hell yes.
And I just about had the biggest fit in the world. When Savage Garden started to play.
I told you. You didn't believe me. Oh my god. Yeah. It's funny. The intro song changes like 3 times during this season, but the ending is always Savage Garden.
That's wonderful.
It's perfect. Yeah.
I'm just going to have to swallow it with a glass of Chicka Cherry Cola.
4 is where they really commit to the aesthetic. Just like the goof. Like the sky changes color between every shot.
I'm really digging. I'm really digging the lengths they've taken it to.
Yeah, the art.
I'm
direction.
almost immediately more invested than I have been in like any of the previous seasons.
Yeah,
at this point in time.
This is where it stops being a shonen like punch each other thing. Like a lot of the stands in 4 and beyond are just like weird like they could just make a movie about like, what if I had the power to make you feel the physical weight of your guilt? like that's a real thing that happens early on in Diamond is Unbreakable. And in 3 it was just like, what if I could punch good? That's my thing. I punch real good.
JoJo. Yeah, there was that, but like everything else that I watched, I was just filling time, really.
Isn't that all this is?
No, I mean, I read a really great article in the Skeptical Inquirer today about the importance of finding meaning, just in day-to-day life. Because constantly people struggle with the whole concept of like, well, if you're not spiritual and you're not religious, then, you know, where do you find meaning? Largely because most of history's texts and like all kind of popular traditional mainstream thought on the subject is that, science is not allowed to touch lofty things like meaning. You're not allowed to talk about purpose in science, which is just a really unpleasant way of looking at things, as if like, you know, there's just some things that science is not allowed to talk about. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the writings of Viktor Frankl.
I am not.
His most seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl was a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust, and while he was a victim of imprisonment, and even for many years afterwards, he kind of made it his life's goal to study why it was that some people managed to stay healthier and survive longer and stay more positive and just generally be better at being human beings. And when I say like better at being human beings, I don't necessarily mean like, you know, oh, this guy made tons of money. Oh, this guy was like super influential in Hollywood. Oh, this guy was an amazing hentai artist. But like being better and more recognized by and of themselves, of being human beings. And he did a lot of research and made a lot of writings about how basically having an individually created meaning, which doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be like, oh, hey, God is why I live, and like, you know, charity is why I live, and things like that, but something that means a lot to you, something that drives you, something that has your emotional and like intellectually invested back when you get out of bed in the morning. Purpose. That this largely affects how prosperous you are during your life, how healthy you are during your life, how long you even live, the kinds of relationships. You know, like, I guess the really short pop sci analogy would be like, hey, positivity begets positivity. But that's a super reductive way of looking at it. And I read this article, and I've read Man's Search for Meaning, and it's a great book. And I think that anybody who struggles with depression or struggles with, like, not feeling like they've found their place in life should really read this book. It's not very long, but it's an absolutely seminal work of a school of psychology that went on, I think, to be called logotherapy, which, I don't know, it's sort of this like weird mixture of personal observation, existentialism, and self-examination that just read it. And I've read it before. But reading this fucking article today, I was like, oh my God, I've lost that. You know, So, yeah, when I say, like, you know, I did a lot of things this week, but I feel like they were all just filling time and space. That's what I mean. I mean, I feel like I wasn't even doing any of it with real meaning. That it was just a waste of my time. That even the stuff that I was enjoying doing, I was like, well, now's the time I have to do this because I don't have any other time to do it.
I measure personal happiness and satisfaction in the amount of cheese fries I get to eat. So everything else in my life is kind of geared towards achieving that aim.
You see, Austin,
it's very easy, calculable.
Yeah.
Now that you've got a suit, Austin, now that you have a suit,
yeah,
we're gonna go to the kitchen next, and I'm gonna teach you about hot oil thermometers.
Oh God, I'm gonna be fucking boring by the end of this, aren't I?
And mandolines, and also spiced Gouda, and why it's fantastic melted on cheese. Fries, pardon me.
My diet has changed quite a bit recently. Mostly the losing weight part, but also just trying to eat healthier. So it's just a thing you have to... How do I put this? Like, my diet for the longest time, from like teenage years till, you know, recently, has been...
Last Wednesday.
Yeah. Has been the same. And my weight had been relatively, roughly the same. And then my body decided that, oh, you can't literally eat the same things that you ate as a teenager because your body just doesn't deal with it as well. So you...
I think that decision is called the, fuck, I give up here.
Yeah, basically, psychic, looking into the future for all you young people who might be listening. Eventually, you just have to work on yourself more for a variety of different reasons. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So on that note, do you guys want to get into questions? Because I'm looking at them now, and there's one I cannot wait to tuck into.
Let's do the one you can't wait to right away.
Give me just a second, gentlemen.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, while Johnny's gone, let's talk about how great his hair is.
He's like really good looking. Is the thing.
Yeah. Like Austin, I saw your hair, and I look at my hair, and I'm like, man, if only we could have Johnny's hair, you know?
Yeah. Look, everyone has ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure we are gifted in other ways.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got the hair
I'm getting way sexier lately, but you know, there are certain things that just aren't, you know, that's the way it is. We just have to accept that and work on our other attributes.
I just realized I'm gonna have to start dating again at some point. I
did
not even consider that.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, we were getting sad and lonely.
Yeah,
without you.
Was that? Oh, this was the delayed reaction from my men search for meaning.
Yeah. All right.
No, I had to turn the oven off
because you've got a Johnny-esque feast, which I cannot even imagine the ambrosia going on in that kitchen right now. The question is. From Lana Seawolf, who wants?
Is this the big one?
Yeah.
The one that you're like, ooh.
Because I have an answer ready to go.
Do it.
Okay.
What's the most badass thing you've ever done?
Austin probably has 12. So you start, and I'll try to think of one.
I cannot believe I haven't told this story yet. So back when I was a fucking asshole.
So last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Exactly. I think I must have been 13 or something. Okay. So there was me, there was someone who was on a phone, and there was someone on the other end of that phone. And there was a heated exchange between these three parties. I don't remember what about. It doesn't matter. The point was I was upset, and I wanted the phone so I could talk to the other person. And the person with the phone wouldn't give it to me, and we're all just yelling. And I got fed up. And so I kicked the phone out of their hand and then caught it in midair and then just put it up to my face and started talking as if that was a normal thing to do. And I swear to God, it was so fucking cool. It was like I had choreographed it. That's how badass it was. I kicked it up, it flipped in the air and I just snatched it. And I was like, my phone now, bitch. It was very, 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 very good. That's not a good thing to do. Don't kick people in the hands. But I did.
Yeah, he probably got over it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, somewhere there's someone in a therapy office I just can't talk on the phone anymore. Keep flashing back. Do either of you guys have a badass thing?
I'm coming up very empty. You know how I am. Johnny, you I'm sure you've done some badass things.
I mean, probably.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've been doing kung fu since I think 2001 or 2002. So, yeah, I've done some badass things, but mostly in a controlled environment. So it's okay, well, I got my black belt, which was 9.5 hours long, that I did on 5 hours of sleep from midnight till fucking no, it wasn't midnight. It was 10. We started at 10 until 7:30 in the morning. But that's just sort of that's not really badass, you know? When Austin's yeah, that was badass. I'm oh, okay. So cool.
Something that needs a one-liner after it.
Right.
All right. When I was a kid, when I was maybe 7, I broke my left arm. In the forearm. Both bones. Not a fracture, snapped. My wrist was turned 90 goddamn degrees. And everybody was freaking out, and I was in shock. I was so totally in shock. And they were holy fuck, oh god, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And my parents got me off to the hospital. And I'm sitting in this room when this doctor comes in, takes one look at me, and is oh jeez! Immediately knows what's wrong. And so I'm what are we going to do? And he's well, I mean, first things first, we're going to have to set the bone, then we're going to put a cast on you, and then, it's going to be a number of months to heal. I'm okay, set the bone. And he's like, well, normally we, like, I'm going to give you a shot, and then we let it anesthetize. I was like, set the bone! I was like 7, and I was just like, set the bone! And he's like, okay, fine, snap! Like, right then and there. And I was like, ow. Thanks.
Yeah. That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
That was kind of badass. I was pretty proud of myself at that moment. I was like, okay, I guess I'm not bad with pain. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Leon, did you think of anything, or are you just gonna? No, you just pass. Just gonna pass on this one, buddy.
When I was a goth teenager, I kind of got lucky in a graveyard.
Nice, that's cool.
It's edgelord.
It very much is.
Yeah.
Especially considering that I got like super edged. No, I'm just like.
All right.
Oh my.
We're good at this.
I couldn't resist. All right.
Yeah.
Steady on, boys.
Next question, Leon.
I guess. I'm sorry. Look.
That's
you
okay.
know, look. I just all I do is just skip around and all day. So.
Everyone understands, Leon. That's why they come here for you. You're a delicate child.
Yes.
I was really hoping that this was going to be the episode where Leon confesses that he's a repo man in his other job. And he got into some, like, super high-speed chase with a car.
Oh, God. You know what that's...
That he had to repossess and was like...
I immediately went to Repo Man, the film, about like taking people's organs back.
No, that's Repo, a genetic opera. Repo Man, the film, is... I know... a life of crime, I know that a life of crime and bad choices led me to this point in life, but yet, I blame society.
Yeah, I literally listened to Zydrate Anatomy earlier today on YouTube, so that's a weird coincidence. Okay.
I actually didn't mean Repo the Genetic Opera, I meant Repo Men, the Forrest Whitaker movie about...
Oh, that's the bad Repo.
Yeah, but it has the same exact premise as Repo. The Genetic Opera, but yeah,
I know, but it doesn't have Anthony Stewart Head singing.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Okay.
I just like that there was confusion about
He's
which
like,
Repo.
my feelings.
That is how it goes. That's the song.
Okay.
Next question.
Sure.
Mattis Cool asks, do you watch non-English films subbed or dubbed? The eternal question.
Actually, someone actually asked me this recently, and I'll just say the same thing. Live action, subbed, anime, usually dubbed.
At this point, I watch even things that are in English with subs. Like, I just have closed captioning on as a rule.
I do that when I'm taking notes for a movie, just because I don't want to miss anything significant.
Yeah, same.
I'm with Leon. Usually live action, subtitled, anime, oftentimes dubbed, but... sometimes you'll get like that really bad subtitle guy or that really bad dub guy.
Yeah.
And I'll switch. I'm flexible.
Yeah.
I'm pan foreign film.
And some animes just there is no like real dub available, so it's just necessary. So yeah,
it's like a joke that people have really strong opinions about these things, but
right.
like back in the day, you needed to because the quality was so crazy uneven. But now, like most stuff that comes out is like fine. Like,
yeah, I know. I know this because like I don't watch a whole lot of anime or anime films, but whenever I do and I dare to play a dubbed version in the comments, they'll say, "Oh, the dub." Yeah. So
I have a similar thing. I don't know if I want to watch the dub because I don't want like loud screeching anime girls coming out of the speakers in this house, because no matter how totally tame and innocent it is, it always sounds like really disturbing if you don't know the context because of the register of their gosh dang voices.
Yeah, I find the subject matter can really actually affect how willing I am to accept a dub, actually. On one hand, it's like Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Which is like super like Western North American, so it doesn't seem out of place for these people to be speaking in English. And then like, way on the other side, like I'm watching it right now, Diamond is Unbreakable. So like super quintessentially Japanese in its presentation that it seems to me like it would be dissonant Like, I would have difficulty wrapping my head around how ridiculous this universe is if it was, like, that much closer to my reality, where I'm like, these people shouldn't be speaking the same language that I do!
Yeah. All right, so I got a double question here, 2 really easily answered ones from Jason D. Hall. Right. Jason asks, is there an email address where we can send longer questions? Short answer, no. Long answer, we get more than we can answer every week already. So I already have like 2 or 3 email accounts for like work, school, like personal and stuff. I cannot justify having another feed to watch. I'm sorry if you can't fit it in a tweet. Maybe go onto the forums and try to start a thread there. I think there might be a question thread already on the forums. Also, I check in there. Yeah.
Also, I mean, if it's, needs to be like 300 or so characters, I don't think we'll like be super object if you just send multiple tweets in it. If it's like if it's an essay, maybe that's too much too much for this very silly show.
We have difficulty dealing with the complexities of like 1 sentence questions. So
right.
I was going to say, speaking for myself too, that if you want a back and forth or something like that, just like at me on Twitter, and then we can DM each other back and forth. Like, I can add you, and then if things get unpleasant, it's really easy. There's a block button.
See, that's the dark secret about all of this, is if you ask me questions on Twitter, like, I'll just answer you. But if everyone did that, then this whole segment of the show would be pointless. So let's not put that too far out into the universe.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not, I'm not saying that's going to replace this part of the show, but if, if you sort of feel like you need a little bit more attention, I'm amenable to that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my. All right. And the other question from Jason was, any campaign systems we've looked into for future seasons of Dice Funk? I have, and the resounding conclusion of that is none of them are going to work for us. It's going to be 5th edition D&D. It's the only one that anyone can be bothered to learn or memorize.
Which is a shame, because I really, really would have liked to have actually done Call of Cthulhu a few seasons down the road, or even Shadowrun.
I would have as well. I think those are really cool.
Oh!
But here's what...
Also...
Yeah.
Oh, the Warhammer 40K one.
I think we need a board for that, huh?
No. There's a Warhammer 40. There's a number of Warhammer 40K tabletop RPGs. My favorite, though, is Dark Heresy. Yeah, Dark Heresy is probably my favorite.
That sounds light and breezy.
No, it's you, because you play. How familiar are you with 40K, Austin?
I played Space Marine.
So if I say Inquisitor, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they kill people.
Yeah, they basically cleanse the Empire from corruption. Mm-hmm. So you play like young acolytes who work for the Inquisitor, and the Inquisitor just like, go do this thing, and then you can go in and like,
But here's what I'm
played
saying.
like 2 games of Dark Heresy, and one of them was like a buddy cop comedy set in like the grim dark future of Warhammer 40K, and it was fantastic.
But here's what I'm saying, Johnny, is the plan is, even though we're going to use 5th edition math, we can get as fucking goofy as we want. Like the first season was Lovecraft Noir, 2nd season is like Undertale Adventure Time, 3rd season is going to be something else. I don't know if I want that cat out of the bag. There's like 5 seasons. I have a lot of stuff planned, but we're going to get...
There's gonna be a lot of furries.
No, 2nd season was the furries one, which is totally accidental. But in attempting to contrast the humans, I made a furry season. Next season is gonna be there's themes. I don't know if I want to go there yet. The thing is though, we can do whatever we want with that math. We can take the math for bows and make them guns. We can take the math for ships and make them planes. We can take the math for spells and make them bombs. There's no reason we can't reskin stuff. So I was actually talking to Leon about this, I don't know, like weeks ago. He's like, are there laser guns in D&D? And I was like, there can be. We can do whatever we want. We can do, this is not a joke, we can do space opera with 5th edition.
I'm trying to pitch, Austin, as we speak, actually, an adaptation of Space Mutiny.
Yeah.
The
Beef Chin Rock Hard. Yeah.
The famous Reb Brown movie.
Mm-hmm. Slab jaw, square chin. I absolutely want to get buck wild within the confines of 5th edition. I think right now the thing about that show is every season's going to move forward a little technologically. So the first was like dirt times, and now we have airships, and then I think we're going to get like, I don't know, Wild West, maybe like cars, and then maybe next season we'll get some heavier guns or something. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not married to anything particularly, but I absolutely anticipate we're going to get spaceships at some point without
digital intrigue,
without moving away from 5th edition.
Okay. I actually have an idea for a campaign that I've been toying around with for a couple of weeks now, but it would require me to do so much more reading, and also like the commitment of it. I'm not I'm not sure if I'm ready to put myself through that. Plus, Austin probably has like a million other campaign ideas that he could just do. So there's no like dearth of.
I'll get into this because there's a question coming up that's not about D&D, but I'm going to make it about D&D, and this is from Himmelslob, who asks, Austin, favorite Mastodon album and why? And you're like, how can Austin make that about D&D? Watch me go. The answer to my favorite Mastodon album is Crack the Sky. It's the best progressive metal album of all time. Just like it's maybe one of my favorite albums, period. It's about someone, I think it's a paraplegic who's astral projecting, and they get like untethered, and they go into a wormhole and end up in Tsarist Russia, and then they meet Rasputin. And if that does not sound like the dopest metal album, then I do not want you in my life. It's amazing. But where this gets into D&D is Mastodon's first album, Reminiscence, was fire, and then they made Leviathan, which was water, and then Blood Mountain, which was earth, and like that's what we're doing with Dice Funk. The first season was fire, second season's water. I think we're gonna do, or like my plan is to get through the classic elements, and then once we're done with that, maybe a new DM. Yeah, yep, uranium. We'll go through the whole table, but like seriously though, I have like 3 more seasons planned.
Cool.
Earth, Wind, and Ether, and then who knows? Maybe Leon does a season, maybe somebody else, but that's what Austin is prepared to do.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And like I said, advancing technology, almost certainly an element. Let's see here. Got some questions about stuff I don't know if we've seen. Consumerist Skeleton is absolutely losing his mind. He wants to know what we think of the Ouija movie, and he will not take no for an answer. What do you guys think?
Which Ouija movie?
I don't think any of us have seen the Ouija movie. I can't tell if this is a joke.
I'm going to see.
Weren't there like? Weren't there were like? There was one a couple years ago.
Yes, there was Ouija a couple years ago, and
because we talked about it on this show, that's why.
Yeah,
right. And there's going the
and
then
just there was the other one that just came out, Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Right,
as if like evil came out with the Ouija board.
Apparently, it actually is very very good, and I'm going to see it, but I haven't seen it yet, so I can't answer this question. And I'm not going to see the first one.
I mean, we brought this on ourselves by talking about it before it came out, but no, none of us have seen it.
No.
Leon, how could you possibly understand the lore and universe of Ouija Origin of Evil without exposing yourself to the detailed setup in Ouija?
I know the alphabet and the words yes and no.
I mean,
yeah,
fair.
But how are you with your Arabic numerals?
I can count pretty well.
It just occurred to me that if you tried to Google Crack the Sky, you're not going to get it because it's Sky, S-K-Y-E.
Yeah.
Which is, I believe it's named after the singer's sister who committed suicide. Anyway, that is a good album. Sorry. Next question. Let's see here. Alexis David asks, isn't 3 years of law school short when some countries ask for up to 5? I'm not aware of that. Do you guys know how long law school is in other countries?
Well, I think I think what they may not necessarily be taking into account is that you're already a university graduate.
Mm-hmm. I did an undergraduate 4-year degree.
Yeah. So I'm presuming that a number of law schools probably require a basis of general schooling before it's like, hey, congratulations, now you're in the law program. So if it's like up to 5, what I think they're suggesting, or what they may not know, is that there are like extracurricular kind of like credits that you may have to accumulate before you reach the law program.
So it's really more like 7 years.
No, not necessarily 7. I mean, it may be like, it may be, 3 on its own, it may be 5, it may be like 7, to where it's like you have to have X amount of school, and then you're considered, I suppose, because I know that a number of medical schools work like that in Canada, where you can't just jump right into being in the doctor program.
Yeah, just Dr. You. I mean, I think medical school, that's hard to say. Medical school is a good comparison because both of them are not the end-all, be-all of your education. They're like, you get a basis in the classroom, and then you have to go out into the world and learn the craft, like, by the seat of your pants. Like, that's why medical students do residencies and stuff. And in law school, yeah, you do 3 years in a classroom, but then you have to go and, be some firm's bitch for, like, 5 years before you're considered, like, of any value to anyone. Mm-hmm. So, like, it may be only 3 years of law school on paper, but that's not the end of your education. That's just like really just the prerequisites to get you inside of a building.
Or into a movie like The Firm.
Oh, Johnny, you're my favorite person.
Anything else you guys want to say before we go? Because we really should go. I have stuff.
Yeah. I think I'll save most of my big topics for next week, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. For a guy who likes breakfast so much, I don't really eat it that often.
Oh.
We all learned something today.
We did. All right.
What about Willem Dafoe's big ol' hog, though?